Hello, it's Ken Manubay again with Picking Duck, and today I'm gonna talk to you about how we took our idea of a website into from their head down to paper and then onto the internet, and that's the path we took, and then eventually onto your mobile phone, because at the time there really wasn't apps, or developing apps was a little bit out of reach at the time when we first started. But when we first started trying to create Picking Duck, I knew nothing about how to really create a website. I mean, you can go online, you can create simple websites that just have that display information, but Picking Duck was a whole other beast where it took in people's information and it had to show the results of different things. And it wasn't, I had no idea how to do that. So, there was no way for us, nobody on our team knew how to do that. And in fact, I was the most technically advanced out of the group. I graduated with an engineering degree. So people assume, and it was computer engineering. So people assume, like, you should know this, right? And it's like, no, I don't. So we really had to go out there and search for help. But one of the things when we first started, it's like, we're young, we're broke. How in the world are we going to find that help? And, how in the world am I going to do this? How can this be done, by us? There was a lot of self-doubt that, that this was going to be even possible for us to create. So, but we just kept moving on and trying to figure things out as we go. And so, we did the first thing that we could. Let's come up with the idea, put it down on paper, and just draw it out. And which is what we did. And we met over many days, weeks, months, just writing out, our idea. And then when we finally said, all right, we're ready to have a programmer look at this, we reached out to the crowd. I mentioned this to you guys on another video, but the first original quote that we got came in at $100,000, and that was like, whoa, slow down here. $100,000. We're just a couple of guys that just came up with an idea. Where in the world are we supposed to get $100,000? And so that quickly went away. One of the guys at the meeting, though, the one who introduced us to that developer, he said he saw the quote and he's like, "Oh shit, that's not what." He didn't know that the guys would come in that high. And so he's like, you know what, like, I can do it, I can get it done with another group. And then he gave us like a quote at $20,000, maybe $25,000, something around there. And still, that was like, that's way out of our budget. We really got to rethink this. But we didn't give up, just because we didn't have the money. We just figured out another way to do it, right? So we looked in our network, and then we found a friend that does websites. So our website was way beyond what he was capable of. But he said $250, and he'll give us a start. And so it's like, all right, well, we can start there. And then he came back with something that we had no idea what it was. Although we thought it was a start, $250. So what we did with that was like, all right, well, I think this is a good start, even though we had no idea what it was. And we took that to another developer. And one of the, I think, actually we took it to a designer and said, okay, here's what we got. And take a look at this. And so we kind of came up with the designs ourselves as well. And I'm gonna show you guys. If you look right here, this was our first iteration of the website, and I mean it's kind of similar to. It has some of the same aspects which you see on the website today, but it's just very cartoony, which is what we requested in the beginning. But it's really simple, and the difficult part. I mean, this was just a design, so the difficult part was to get this programmed, basically. So, we went to a new developer, and I think this was a new developer, and I don't recall what the cost was, but that one, I think we spent around $5,000. That one, I don't even think we got very far. I think he took it a step further with what the original guy did, and kind of creating the architecture behind it. But really, it wasn't anything that we were looking for. And so then we finally met some other guys that said that they could really take on this project, and they charged us around $20,000, and they first started developing it, and they were supposed to come back within a couple months of getting it panned out, and they messed up, and they messed up on our dime. And so but they admitted it, and so it kind of took a lot longer, and the money was basically used to pay the previous programmer, and they knew that it didn't come out the way that it needed to be. And so I guess the guy that was on their team just wasn't knowledgeable enough to develop it, and they knew that, and they had the problems, but they were able to solve that within their own team, and they got a new guy on their team, and this guy was practically a superstar. He was just by himself, I think, in the back end development, and he really built out the project back end and the operation of it, I think, all by himself. So my hat's off to that guy. He really did a great job, and they didn't upcharge us much more, so they were able to figure out between themselves how to help us get it done, and they delivered a product that was for us something that we could use, and then I think here's the next design from the previous one. This, the design changes. You guys are looking at some old stuff right here. So this is, some things that we were designing into the website. And then from that design, we moved on to this design, which you kind of can see today, which looks more similar. We got our logo in there, but from that group, we paid about $20,000, and that was the start where we were able to start testing the website, and it was going well. And I think that's when we, even though it was developed and ready to test, there were problems, right? Of course, with anything, you're going to have problems, and you've got to fix it along the way, and that's what we were doing. But, we were done with the original team, and then we had to hire a new team that would help us solve these problems. And originally, we were hiring within the U.S., and that proved to be very pricey. So we were able to outsource our development, which we moved it to Ukraine, and these guys were geniuses, man. They were really, really good and low cost, and they were able to do the magic with our website, get it going. And these guys were really web only, and so they still had some problems, because on the original development, There were still some inherent problems. It was a little bit messy, and they inherited those problems, and they had to keep building upon those problems. So it was a bit tough, and then we moved away from them and said, you know what, let's see if the guys out here in the US can get it done better because of the communication. So we found some guys, and they said that, okay, we can do this for $60,000, and we were like, whoa, really? They were supposed to take us from web to mobile, like with that 60,000, iOS, Android, and then, if everything goes well, they would actually invest in us. And we said, okay, like let's take a chance on this. And that's when, this was kind of a big decision for us, because all of a sudden there was a lot more money to be invested into what we were doing. And so we decided to go for it. And man, that 60,000 did not get us very far. It got us to solve the problems. It didn't get us where we really thought that we would get to, and it was such a bummer for us. That was a tough thing to handle for us, because like that was a big chunk of change that we invested. And there's times when you think like, oh man, what if we did it this way or that way, then we'd still have that money. But you gotta move on from those, and we did. We went back to another company in Ukraine, and now they helped us develop our iOS app, which is what you see today. And we still don't even have an Android app. We just have our website, an iOS app, and we don't have all that because we're still trying to develop more features, more games. We're trying to bring in halftime bets, monthly contests. We're trying to bring all that to the table, but we want to be able to have all that in our website and iOS working properly before we start developing the Android. So that's why we don't have the Android at this point. But now, since I went to that conference the other day, and there are so many development companies within sports betting. When we were first developing, man, these guys had no idea what like sports betting and what odds and all that. We had to explain everything. But now there's so many companies out there that do understand that. And so, if we started now, it'd be a much easier climb. But, that's even, these companies now probably require even more money. But, we got our iOS and we got our web developed, and it was a long journey. But, we know that, developing this, like, everything is taking step by step. We weren't ready to logically invest 100,000 at the beginning, but eventually our investments went towards that number. But we were logically ready for 250, 5,000, 20,000, 60,000, and that's how it went. There was really no shortcuts to the development or to the success of developing where we are today. So taking the shortcut it just wasn't there for us. And that brings me to sports betting. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like there's no shortcuts to your winning, and when you do try and take the shortcut, that's when you make those mistakes, when you're trying to push all in, and that's when you got problems, right? So with betting, be patient, manage your money properly, and those are some of the things that we're going to be sharing in this program that we're putting together. So keep in touch, guys. I'll catch you on the next video.